It had been 2 days since the meeting with Pastor Bryson. The objective was clear: find the girl, get answers. His military background made it simpler to travel. After the plane ride into South America and the dreaded passing into customs, Liam had rendezvoused with some of his blood brothers who were still stationed in Venezuela, who provided him with the dossier on the girl from Operation Jungle Book. Her overall evaluation before being handed over to the officials was lacking, to say the least. Liam tracked down her whereabouts and found she was being kept in a juvenile psych ward in Valera after being ruled mentally unstable. With the help of his contacts, Liam was granted a translator and supervised interaction with the patient, which wasn't too difficult, seeing as Liam was one of the men who saved her life. The room was simple, barren almost, with the typical white walls and clean linen bed. The window, which was made with stronger material than that of industrial standard, looked out over the city from the 8th story. The yellow, crocheted quilt in the rocking chair gave the sterilized feel of the place a touch of comfort. There sat the girl, long, silky black hair, and a hospital gown that was a poor excuse for a dress. Both hands held a crayon, one red and one blue, each drawing at the same time. No shape or goal or lines to commit to, just two eyes fascinated by the colors on the page. The nurse, doubling as an interpreter, closed the door behind them as they entered the room. The girl backed away in uncertainty, sitting cross-legged on the bed and using the covers as a barrier from the strange man.
Her name is Luana,
the nurse said, before approaching the girl and saying something in Spanish. Luana seemed to relax. Whatever the nurse whispered had eased the tension in her eyes.
What'd you tell her?
I told her, you're the man who saved her life.
The nurse stood intentionally, with her back to the girl, and slipped a candy bar into Liam's hand with a wink.
She loves chocolate.
Liam smiled and eased towards the bed with the candy bar outstretched. The hesitant girl still hid behind her shyness, but couldn't resist the promise of dessert. She grabbed the candy bar and tore into it like a squirrel, happily forgetting about any worries she might have had.
Despacio, despacio, Luana. Small bites.
Can you ask her about the day that we found her?
Well, her vocabulary is very minimal. ¿Recuerdas lo que pasó el día que este hombre te salvó la vida?
The girl's delighted attitude changed. She sat silently with a blank expression, other than the melted cocoa on her cheeks.
¿Te acuerdas, Luana?
Sí, the girl whispered, not looking either of the adults in the eyes.
El señor Liam le gustaría mucho que hablaras con él sobre esto.
The girl began to breathe harder, shorter, like the sudden memories were choking her lungs. She wrapped herself in her own arms and clenched her bloodshot face with stress, holding the blanket over her mouth.
Está bien, no tengas miedo. Todo está bien.
The nurse wrapped her motherly arms around the child and pulled her close, stroking her head gently. Liam had picked up on enough to understand what was going on. The recollection of that day was less than soothing for either of them.
She gets like this whenever we mention her past. The medication helps when we can get her to take it, but the psychological effects of it are, well, lasting to say the least. She needs time to recover before she can talk about what happened.
El sacrificio.
Just then, the girl interrupted, once again with a change on her face. Now with a resolve, almost in anger.
Solo hay una clave. La sangre de los libres.
I think she's talking about her people's ceremonies. Many of the tribes believe in blood sacrifices to honor their gods. Some think that the younger the sacrifice, the purer the blood.
She was the sacrifice.
Yes, you saved her life. Although it took a while to get her to see it that way.
Liam knelt down to the girl's level and grabbed her quivering hand. He looked her in the eyes, the precious brown eyes.
Tell her when we found her, something went really wrong to me and my team. That's why I'm here.
A los americanos le pasó algo malo cuando te rescataron.
Sí, la maldición.
She says it's a curse.
Why? What's happening to us?
Tú tomaste su sacrificio. Ahora él te tomará a ti.
She says because you stole the sacrifice, he's going to steal you.
Who? Who's...
The girl stared into Liam's desperate eyes with sadness, a tear tripping from her face.
Play kick.
What does that mean?
It sounds like a name. Plakic.
Okay, where, do you understand? Ask her where my team is.
¿Dónde están los hombres que te
Lo
salvaron?
siento. Lo siento.
She says she's sorry.
Okay, but where? Where are my men?
Liam insisted impatiently. The girl walked over to her desk and scooted several papers out of the way, then pulled out the bottom sheet and gloomily showed the drawing to the adult. A once white paper, now oppressively scribbled in dark red into a rectangular burgundy mess. The center was eerily blacked out, with crackling lines like a tunnel into space, only with no stars.
Infierno.
She says they're in hell. Mr. Liam, I'm not sure this is healthy for...
How do I save them? How do I break the... Ask her, please. How do I break the curse?
¿Cómo podrá romper la maldición?
La maldición es suya. Para romperla, debes romperlo a él.
She says the curse belongs to him. To break it, you have to break him.
Who? It's Plakic?
Sí,
How? Luana, how do I do it?
debajo de la roca.
She says it's beneath the rock.
Liam knew exactly what that meant. He stood to his feet and held the girl's face in his hands.
Thank you. Gracias, Luana.
Luana lunged forward, wrapping her arms around Liam's waist and burying her head into his arms, unleashing the tears she'd been resisting. She sobbed and squeezed with every ounce of gratitude that could fit inside such a small body. A sliver of peace ran through Liam's heart under the girl's embrace. A glimpse of peace reminding him of something he hadn't felt in a long time. And just as quickly, it was gone.